Hi, I'm Doug Francis with RE/MAX Presidential in Fairfax, Virginia, in the Washington, D.C. suburbs. You're probably watching this video as a friend of yours referred me to you. I like to call this video my buyer strategy video, where I'm going to summarize our first meeting. So whether or not this is your first home, second, or sometimes even third, you're going to find this time is well spent. We're first going to start by reviewing the information that you gave me in our telephone conversation. What I've found doing this since 1991, that no two buyers are exactly the same in what they think of as the perfect house. For example, you may want a townhouse, a condo, a detached house. You may want something that's close to the metro, close to a school. You may even want a yard big enough for your dogs to be able to play in. So it's very important that we get on the same page. Plus, in the meantime, I may have gotten the wheels turning and you may have come up with some other things that you really want. For example, a sports memorabilia room in the basement. I find that all clients are interesting, fascinating, and it's going to help me when I'm out finding properties for you to find something that fits that criteria. Remember, it's comparison shopping, whether or not it's new homes, foreclosures, or a resale. We need to get on the same page, and that's a key part of our strategy. The next part of our meeting is reviewing something I like to call the Green Book. Now, this 35-page book is put out by a local title company and actually summarizes Northern Virginia real estate transactions. So it's got a great timeline for you, as well as a summary of our regional sales contract put out by the Realtor Association. And we're going to go through that now. Now, the book you're going to be able to take home, but I've found that if I can spend the time going through that in about half an hour, that we're going to be able to be on the same page when we find a property and we're trying to negotiate a good contract. Rather than having me pull out a 20-page agreement for the first time and overwhelm you, it's better to do your homework now so we have a clear strategy when we find that great property, that good value. Now, the sales contract is going to have your name on it, as well as the sales price that you're offering. It's going to outline your earnest money deposit, the time frame as far as for real estate closing. It's also going to have contingencies in there. For example, an appraisal contingency, or a home inspection contingency, or a termite contingency. We're going to go through that line by line in our first meeting so you have a good handle of it. Now, when we do find a property and we're trying to negotiate, we're going to go through that contract once again. I think you're going to find that it's very informative and that you actually have a clear strategy and confidence when we're putting together that offer when we found the property. Now, the book also goes through closing as well. It's got that timeline. It explains what settlement is, gives you a copy of a HUD-1 settlement statement. It actually has telephone numbers for utilities as well as a glossary. You can always ask me questions if I'm talking in jargon, but still, you can go to that glossary if you'd like to get some answers. Now we're going to talk about mortgages and expenses. Now, you may have found a lot of information on the internet about mortgages. I want to talk to you about that, maybe even give you some suggestions on programs you didn't even know existed. Now, you're going to find this information very beneficial. It'll probably take about a half an hour. On expenses, we're going to be going through a line-by-line worksheet giving you an estimate of your closing costs. For example, what an appraisal costs, what tax escrows are, what title insurance is, transfer taxes, even a home inspection. We're going to go through that line by line to give you an accurate picture of what expenses are so we can budget for this. Again, strategically, it's important for you to know how much things are going to cost now so you can make an informed decision as we go along. Once we've concluded that, we're going to go through an actual payment of the monthly program that we're looking at. For example, I'll look at today's interest rate and calculate out, assuming the down payment that you're going to put down is accurate, a principal and interest plus taxes and insurance. A lot of times if there's a homeowners or condominium, I'm actually going to include those fees in as well. So again, you're going to be able to budget right down to your monthly payment. Now we're going to talk about how I work as your buyer agent. Now, I've been an accredited buyer representative since 1995, and I've helped a few hundred people successfully buy properties. So I do know what I'm doing. But it's important for you to know that when we're negotiating on a property, that the information that I'm giving you is true and accurate. And we're going to be going through and distilling this data as far as recent sales, seller subsidies, things along those lines, to really come up with a good strategy to help negotiate the property at the best price for you. Like the sales contract in the Green Book, the buyer agency agreement is a 2-page standardized form put out by the Realtor Association. It does outline the rights and responsibilities of the buyer and the broker in the transaction. Now, I do put a lot of time and effort into every client, and it's important that when we're putting together an offer that we're going to be looking at recent comps, recent sales, what the sales price is, and whether or not there are any seller transactions. These are all important pieces of information when we're negotiating a sales contract. So the agreement has a beginning date and an end date. It's going to talk about the responsibilities of the broker as far as keeping your information confidential and presenting any offers that you may want to put forth. Now, it's going to outline a few other things, for example, how the broker's paid. Now, typically it's a percentage of the sales price, which is credited from the listing agent at closing. Or there can be a flat fee with a bonus structure. It's your choice. As far as, please keep in mind that I'm a licensed real estate agent. I'm not an attorney, a home inspector, an appraiser. But we're going to be going through comps. I've done this since 1991, so I do have a lot of good information. But in the event I don't have the answer, I do always have excellent people that I can recommend that you talk to for a second opinion. The agreement does have a section regarding a retainer fee. In the event that you do wind up getting pre-approved in the first 10 days, the retainer fee is waived. Please keep in mind that when we're putting together an offer on a particular property and trying to negotiate it, that beforehand I will have been doing quite a bit of research on that. For example, a few years ago, a client of mine loved a particular property. She thought it was fantastic. But when I dug a little deeper, I found that there was a road in the master plan that was going to be built directly behind that property. Needless to say, I convinced her it was not a good property to buy, saving her tens of thousands of dollars. Today, that road has been completed and is a pretty busy 4-lane road. We're going to review the buyer agency agreement, and it will need to be signed. I want you to be comfortable when we're entering into the agreement, and so we can have that in the file. Now, in Virginia, we do have certain properties that are in homeowners associations or condominiums. So keep in mind that you're going to be receiving a copy of those documents from the seller for your review. Once you've received them, you're going to have a 3-day period to review those documents to your satisfaction. It's a consumer protection law, but it's important for you to be protected in this transaction. Another part of our meeting is we're going to discuss the benefits of having a 1-year home warranty on the property when you buy it. Now, that's either going to be provided by the seller or by RE/MAX Presidential, but it's going to cover those unknowns that may crop up in that first year of owning the property. It's not an excuse for having a home inspection, which we'll do, but you can never tell sometimes what's going to happen 6 months down the road, and I like to make sure that you're covered. Now, one of the last things that we're going to discuss is a laundry list of contingencies and inspections and things like that. For example, we're going to talk about a home inspection, the importance, how that's paid for and negotiated, or a radon inspection. There's typically a termite inspection that goes along with this, and how that's actually handled in the event that they find termite or termite damage. If the property's on well and septic, we're also going to have inspections for that as well. I'm going to be available to answer your questions like appraisals. How's that handled if the property comes in less than the agreed upon sales price? That is outlined in the agreement, but it's important for you to know strategically how that's handled ahead of time. I hope you found this pre-meeting video to be helpful. Now, when we're meeting, we're going to go through a lot of information, but you can get the ball rolling right now. If you've got questions, you can send them to me at doug@dougfrancis.com, dougfrancis.com. If you want to do a little searching right now, you can go to my website, the dougfrancis.com website, and click on the link on the right-hand side. It says Area Homes for Sale. Now, this is a database put together by our multiple listing service. You can put your criteria in there. It'll even email you new listings. So it's a good tool in order to get some momentum as we move forward. I really look forward to hearing from you, and I look forward to meeting you in the near future. Thanks.